going again.
Okay, we're live. We're gonna start the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First one on there is to approve last meeting minutes from the November 4th meeting.
Make motion to approve.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
The next thing is for our organizational meeting. It's our first meeting of the year, so we'll need to appoint our, nominate and put in the structure of the president, vice president.
I nominate Mandy to retain the role as president.
I second that.
You did a great job.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vice president. I nominate Susan to remain unless you.
I think I only got 2 more years, so we'll be good. We're good. I think this and the first board is the same year.
No, what you're gonna do with all your time.
Exactly.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Who we vote for? I didn't hear.
Susan, vice president, sorry.
All right. Aye.
And then secretary, currently, Mr. Dotson.
I nominate the Dotson.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think that's all we have for that part of it. So, new business, we have been going over and going over and going over, and then finally have launched the website, for the online platform that we've been working to approve for a long time, even before myself, to get everything more streamlined. So, has everybody had a chance to look at that? Kind of take a look at the landing page and see what it's like. It's addressed the same with, it's on our government site, so it's just a link on there, just under departments, pretty easy, as far as that goes. We've worked through some hiccups that were at the beginning of the structure, but that we've kind of got.
It looks really good. You guys did a great job.
Does this, I can't remember, I've looked so many of them. Does this have everyone's name, board members and all that on it?
It's on a separate link on the county side. There's a board members for every, so you can click and toggle each, department and see who's on their board. So yes, it is, it's not on our landing page, but it's in the county site.
And how user friendly is that for people? We were talking about that.
I think it's extremely user friendly.
There's a few things that I would like to see change a little bit, only on the fact that I've had the phone calls to talk to some of the landowners, and when they go on there, kind of working through some of that. And so there's a few things that I think now that we have it to this point, maybe just tweaking, kind of fine tuning a few things that I would like to see maybe a little bit more user reader friendly. You know, we're kind of in a society where pictures and it just, that's how you quickly go to stuff. So I think if we could do a few things on there, probably would tweak it a little bit more to custom, but just getting it to this point, I was just ready to make it going.
And who or how would you do that with Anja?
We just, we kind of communicated with them to see what we needed on there. It started, I think Chris was like the go-to for some of the questions for that, but Anjan is actually the designer of all that. So all the information, he's, Mr. Watson's met with him once, I've met with him, we've had some email correspondence, just kind of going over what all needed to be put on there. And then there's a few things, once we've seen it actually in play and how it start to finish, I was able to say, hey, I need this added and that sort of thing. And I think we're getting closer to more of what I feel like is a fine tune. I mean, some of it is just personality differences and how you might want to design, but the functionality of it, I think, will be more smooth with just a few more tweaks. I think that side seems like it's going okay. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything they think should be added to the website now that they've seen it. I know it's,
Is that the permit that we approved the other day? Did that come through the website? Or was it a packet?
there's several, so I went ahead, there's through, I've had it in the office, so I've put
Okay.
everything in the office. So on the other permits, they've been pretty easy.
Mm.
The ones that have had questions, that's what I've gotten with you
Okay.
specifically now. Now, in the future, I think that we need to come up with a plan or a round robin or how that's gonna work to, because not everybody needs to be, hey, does this permit look, yeah, okay. But we need to come up with a plan on how we wanna do that. However, that one started off with an email, I think originally to, Mr. Cole, and then it was forwarded to me, and then forward, so it's kind of filtered that way. And now I think most of the questions have been coming through and we're able to direct them. I've been trying to first direct them to the website. And then if they cannot, they either don't have access to the website, that sort of thing, we give them other options. I haven't gotten back to look, it was closed today, but I actually dropped off, I bought one of those wall hangers even for permit application packets to stay at our door.
Cool.
That way they'll just be in manila envelopes. It'll be for those who have no internet access, can just drop that big one up.
Good.
That way they're not having to go to another office. I do think that that draws a little confusion on where to go. Just take you to the office every time. Or a
Those
phone
be
call.
outside of your office.
They are, and if the work order went through correctly, and I'm sure it did, because Greg does a great job there, it'll be hung up right outside the door.
Good.
And then we'll just keep those, check them every so often, make sure they're full. Which should be pretty easy. In saying some of that part though, I think our office is going to need to request some funding for some sort of printer and or what kind of monies it's going to take to be able to print at another office that's already has a printer, maybe per paper or whatever that looks like. Some way that we can print.
Yeah, because each department budgets for all their,
Sure. And right now I've done it for my home fridge and that's great for now, just to kind of get it launched, but after a while,
So we had in our budget, we had a line item for office supplies.
We did. I talked to Commissioner Cole, I think is who I called, about questioning the direction, because we had went through the steps to get approved the stipend and then mileage. Then I was questioning, well, now that we're here, how do we go about that step? Like, who do we turn that into? Since it's been redirected on even budget and stuff, directing all that for this year. So I did ask them about that. That is actually going to be on their meeting tomorrow.
yes, just one more.
So that's on their meeting to give us the process on what that looks like to get those stipend distribution finalized, what that step looks like, what paperwork they need for that. And then for mileage and everything that goes along with that, we're supposed to have that to us.
Okay.
But we will need some sort of printing process. I don't think we're gonna print an astronomical amount of papers, and we'll try to be very frugal on that, but we will need to print off like these. This is what it looks like. Just to give you an idea when it comes through in the email. These are kind of what they look like. They come through in that format, so they'll go to the website, they click on it, they fill out the application data that goes in, and then this is what automatically comes through our planning and zoning email. The planning and zoning email is structured that way, it doesn't go to anybody's personal email, so that if, the words will change.
This is the old one here?
That's the paper version, so that's what it looks like, and there's a downloadable version of that online, so they can download and print. If they have 3 different ways to do it. We can provide them a printed copy, they can download it online, print it themselves, or they can fill it out online. So it's really should be able to fill out.
That's neat looking, that's good.
So that's how the process comes through. So it comes through in an email, the email comes through that planning and zoning email like that. Then that, in theory, wouldn't have to be printed, but I think for our documentation
It can be
purposes,
printed,
until we figure out where it's gonna be stored digitally, it's gonna be backed up like this. It'll go with their permit itself copy, there's duplicate copies, and that way we have it all together right now. And now I'm not saying that won't change in the future, but, so we will, and I would like to see if Anjan can get this reduced to where it's not 3 pages. I don't think it's necessary to have 3 full, it's a lot. I think it's just
The
spacing.
disclaimer on there is that,
Yeah, he has a disclaimer on it.
okay,
But it still has part of the permit on it, so it has to print, it's like a requirement to print that page anyhow, so. So anyhow, so you're looking at maximum 3 pages to print per permit. And then if we're gonna keep packets, there's, I think, 4 pages there that just print and a cover sheet, that sort of thing. And then some.
And we like to have a lot of them.
Yes, that's the idea. I have actually, I feel like with the process, we have had questions. I think people are asking questions. It's going through a process. It seems like it's relatively smooth. On some of that, I have reached out to you too on one of the questions regarding, this dollar situation and making sure, because if there is something that's just not a point blank, it's still there.
They did a really good job of supplying you with all the drawings and they did, that was good.
Yes,
That was
they had a
easy.
mass amount
Yeah.
of information,
Yeah,
which
that
was
made it a
great.
lot easier to figure out.
He said he had about 400 projects going right now, so I think he's very versed in it, so thank you.
So,
Um,
so once they do that, who collects the money?
So right now, the way it's working is, this will come in, and then I have been filtering these. Now, that's not something that I don't mind to do and do the stipend that way, and I don't care to handle that. I feel like the board, if anybody else would like to do that, if we want to take a month and this is your month, or whatever, however you want to do that, I don't.
You shouldn't have to do it all, you feel like to.
Well, I mean, I don't mind to do it. Like, it's not that many, really, truthfully. I think there's been, I want to say 3. I have to look at the records back there, but I think there's 3. So basically, it comes in an email. I print that off, or it comes a digital packet. I've had one of those too. They had to turn it in. And then from there, I come to the office, our office back here, fill out the permit, make it match the numbers, give them a permit card, because that's all back there also. I take that to the treasurer's office. The treasurer's office already had this system in place with Mr. Cole or Commissioner Cole. So it was already set up like that. Take that to their office. And then I just call the client, or the landowner, and say, hey, this is where it's found. You'll pick up and pay there. They then collect all of the funding.
Which makes sense.
I don't want any of us to be liable for any funding coming in.
Who collects it?
The
Treasurer.
treasurer.
They collect all of the funding. They hold it until, basically this sheet was being brought in. And it's just a summary sheet or bank draft sheet that just shows. Then what they were doing is coming in there every once a month, saying this is what we had. Does that match what you have? Yes. Making it match, and then this sheet goes to the auditor's office for her to finalize. And then they make the deposits and everything. So no cash transactions, anything like that from
That's
somebody.
good too, in case of an audit.
Right. So we have a backup. We even describe on here is how it's credited, everything that goes along with it. So it's all noted here. And then a copy is then kept. Right now I have like a January file, a February file, and it's kept in that file so that it's kind of just backed up. So it's kind of how it's been going. I don't know that it's the perfect solution, but it seems like it's working.
On the printer side, I'm not sure what other departments do. I know that we have a contract with Rico for our printer where we do pay Rico by the copy for printer maintenance. That includes our ink and everything else that we use for our printer. So I don't know if other departments have similar things. If they do, then it's really easy to get a cost per copy.
Sure.
To see what the contract is.
Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe you might be able to answer that
What's
question.
that?
She was saying that we don't know how the copy machines, do we own the copy machines at the courthouse, or are they
No.
leased out?
No, they're leased.
Okay, so.
Most of them are leased to Hoosier Business.
Okay, so it might be something that, depending on, and we probably need to figure out what we need to vote that in, and hey, do we wanna get a printer and get the price for that, plus ink service
Some
for
of the
the years?
printers I've had, so like if I'm printing, I have a code that goes in and so it knows who to charge that to.
Right,
So I don't know if those are set up
I
like that or
don't know if
not.
they're set up like that.
That would be the perfect.
That would be the ultimate
Yeah.
solution. You just go
Each department has, their own printers.
for the,
Mhm.
they have their own printers, or they have their own code to go into the printer to tell what.
They have their own printers.
Okay,
I wonder if we couldn't get a code and piggyback on one that's already here.
I just don't want it, my
That way
main
we don't have to
thing,
pay,
yes.
we pay for copies, we don't have to charge the county for another lease or another contract or
Right.
copier.
Right.
We'll just pay per copy
Because
prices.
those contracts are, they
Expensive,
can get
Yeah.
very
pricey.
expensive, and we need
Yeah.
like a basic home printer, like
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
Because they, a lot of times what they do on those, with some of the vendors, if you get the printer or scanner, whatever they, all those machines, then you have to pay a maintenance fee on it.
Yeah,
Right.
say so,
Right.
we can just get a code.
That's where they get you.
And that's what, I don't want to cause a nuisance to any department here.
No.
But if there was one of the offices here that would, somehow we can come up with and that'll be just.
So like I have things that nobody else can see. If I print them someplace else in the company, I print to
Right.
my box, and then when I go to the printer, I put in my code and it
Right.
spits out my
I
copies.
don't think it's structured the same
Yeah.
here.
You may check too, I don't know if the, former administrator, I'm sure she had a copy or, no, Teresa,
Oh, yeah.
she would have had to have one somewhere.
I thought Mr. Bogus would have too, but there's no printer in
No
there.
printer in
I
there.
don't think.
There was,
Maybe at some point.
I bet.
it's shifted or
yeah,
maybe it just.
if I remember
antiquated.
right, if I remember right, it was just like, that's all.
Unless I just overlooked it.
I bet,
so-
I bet it's gone, because somebody else needed it.
Sure.
Nobody in that office needed it. I would
So it either needs to be something basic no, we're not paying somebody to maintain. It's just something you buy at Walmart or a local store. Basic
You
desktop
just
thing
basically
for.
want a copy machine.
I just need a printer and copy that I can print some. There's a computer in the office as long as everything works well.
Okay.
I was able to log into it.
I think I might know where one is at.
It was all taped up on it. It was good. It was good. I didn't get that far. I didn't get very
I
much.
put everything in the office, keep it for it.
Oh, did you?
Also,
Okay, that's
I
awesome.
see.
I didn't look at it. So,
I think I might know where there's one at, so let me check, yeah.
yeah, and as long, and I don't wanna, I mean, we all understand what it costs and everything, so I don't want it to be a big fee, but we obviously are
We
gonna need
need
something.
one.
Yeah, we're gonna need something for it, so it doesn't have to be huge, but something, I don't want anything where it's
This
required
one wouldn't-
maintenance release.
This one
just
wouldn't be huge,
basic, something basic.
I'll check on it tomorrow.
That'd be perfect.
Is our budget already set, or do we have to do that?
I don't think so. I've also talked to one of the council members about what that looks like going forward, because I think the idea would be that, the stipend concept and then other fees are just basic office supplies, right? I don't know that we have.
There
whole
was
lot of
there's
expenses.
several line items on that.
There
budget.
was, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same for this year going forward. I'm not seeing that.
I don't know what all is on there. I don't, we probably should have submitted it in November or
I think we
October.
were requested, I think I do remember saying at that time, we were
No,
discussing.
August, more like it,
Mhm.
back in August, yeah, that's when we start submitting the budgets.
Oh,
I have that on the other.
and I have one more question before I have to go.
Okay.
Is it the board's opinion that we're not ever gonna have anybody to take this over and lead it
I think the idea.
besides the board?
The idea was, to see how this goes. If this isn't going well in 6 or 8 months and it doesn't seem like it's flowing well, then we're gonna have to figure out another plan. I think this is just like a short term, the concept would be to do something like this, right? Cause you're eliminating extra fees for someone to sit in an office that we don't need anymore, cause nobody's going to that office. And so we were trying to reduce that, but if this doesn't flow well enough and makes sense, we might have to do something different, but this was, hey, let's see what 2025 looks for, and then after that, if it's still going well, which was the idea of having maybe more frequent meetings. First couple meetings we had, they hadn't had one in a long time. A year, yeah.
How many
so-
permits, were issued last year, do you know?
How many permits? I think the total dollar figure was 10,000 total. That-
No, I
don't
mean,
quote me on that.
permits
The
themselves,
numbers? I had it, yeah, I know, I had it, and then I knew you guys.
just in a round, it wasn't a lot.
I feel like there was 5 or 6 per month on average.
Well,
Yeah,
that's not much.
Yeah, there was 5 or 6 a month on average was the last time we calculated. That's when I went to the council and the commissioners about it, because there was an average of 5 or 6. So like 1 week was really honestly.
Okay,
I do think seasonally it does different. So here we are in spring, it's gonna be different because the season, people are building and doing things, but I do think there's dormant times.
right
So I
now,
think
they'll be
the average
building
was-
arcs,
the average was like 5 or 6 a month.
wouldn't they do?
Yeah,
Well, part of it.
Right now, they'll be building arcs.
But not having a process.
Right, I agree with
Where
you.
there's been a lot of things have been built without permitting. I mean, it increased, the number of permits increased when we put in the requirement to have a permit in order to hook up to utilities.
Right,
But-
so like Southern Maine and Power, I think now, and probably always have, but I know that there have recently been landowners that wanted Southern Maine and Power to run service there. And they hit a wall that they had to go with
Good
it.
for them.
Yeah, they have to come here before they
Right,
can
the
get
idea was
something
always to
done.
do something like that, especially on a local
Yeah,
level.
they have to.
So,
It's just
I
like
think we'll
your
see more.
septic,
Yes, I think we'll see more.
your perk test.
I do think we'll see more too, just for the feasibility that the idea is that you're not having to jump through a lot of hoops or wait for phone calls back or leave messages or things that just were not making sense.
It's more efficient.
Yeah, I think that we'll see, I know someone had mentioned before, well, it's just honest people. Yeah, of course, everything is just honest people, but I think you're gonna find more people having this
Oh,
email.
I think we had people that were trying to do the right thing, but when there wasn't everybody in that office,
Like,
they're like, heck with it,
yeah, sit block wall.
I'm just gonna go build
Yes,
or add on.
so that's kind of the idea, so I think it'll go okay, but to answer your question, Dan, I don't know how long. I mean, as long as this is flowing well and everybody's okay with it, and the current board member is willing to do the stipend process to do those, I think it'd be fine. I do think there's gonna be times like we had one that came through that I didn't really know the answer to what to even charge and some of that kind of stuff, cause it's out of the normal. So then I need to have to go to the board and say, oh, this is, you know, at least I see the board members and say, hey, is this,
Is there a guideline from the state that you have to go by as far as charging?
the state, I think we set those rates.
set your
The
rates
board
for the
set the
county?
rates, we
Okay.
did, the board set the rates, we established it, and it's also on our website also for
Okay.
everyone to click on and see. It's pretty simple for most of them, it's just a minimum fee plus
Mhm.
square footage, basically.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was, state mandated or.
Not that I'm aware of, and if so, we're doing it correctly.
It's not.
Okay, no, not that I'm aware of, I think it's just jurisdicted on your board in your county or city. And I do think there's some that, maybe not tonight, but we're gonna need to address. We do have quite a few cell towers and things like that that are not on our typical radar. We had a question about hydroponics, all things that aren't at the norm.
Well, I think we need to,
We need a tiny house.
Yeah, the
We need a tiny
homes.
house. I actually did have a landowner that called, they were wanting to basically do a tiny home. It's probably, I would say, like one of those utility barns or something that they want to finish out. The unfortunate part is they're not gonna be able to do it because it doesn't meet your 800 square foot. Well, I don't know that that's the correct approach. Because you can do other structures that are more temporary and keep enrolling that. I don't know, it just.
yeah, last time we had a problem with the plumbing.
To come in for that. So I do think there needs to be a tiny home adjustment, because his actually was like 730 square foot when he considered the loft. So that's kind of, would be frustrating to me as a landowner that.
Yeah,
I do think there's even one out there right now that I've seen personally, and I wasn't in at that time when it got, it's not.
well, that can always be
Somebody-
adjusted.
Somebody made a
Somebody has
complaint.
No, because you're not gonna make a complaint when you live on that road, so, you're just, you're not.
Gotcha.
But I don't think, you know, to me, it's a beautiful structure, it's well designed. It just probably doesn't exactly meet the guidelines, and they probably just had no idea.
I know last time we had to count the front porch, the discussion where the front porch counted, and it did, and that took them over, I mean, that was without the porch, they wouldn't
Yes,
made it,
and
with
they
the
need
porch,
that
they made it.
Right, and this one was, hey, I'm gonna have a loft in it, does the loft include it? I'm like, don't think it does, but can we make some exceptions, or is it that we can just make a broad, hey, these smaller tiny homes can maybe fit under a certain square footage? Now, I'm not gonna be ridiculous to them, but
Yeah.
it needs to be adjusted.
Why would we have a square foot minimum on a house?
That's a good question, because honestly, I didn't know we had a square foot minimum
We did.
until it was pointed out, and it's actually found in our definitions under what a residential
Yeah.
structure is. It's not really in our, it's weirdly placed even in our zone codes.
I mean, what?
A lot of things
why
go
should
back
anybody
to,
care?
go back to
As
history,
long
where
as they
people
have
wanted to
to.
eliminate
As
certain
long
types
as
of
the septic
structures.
system
That's
is adequate
permanent,
Correct.
for
Not
a
a
certain
temporary.
size
And
family.
your taxes are set up right
And
there.
I don't know the
I don't-
hoops to jump through, but I do think we have to readjust that. I think that
Yeah.
800 square foot is a
Well,
ridiculous
there's,
number.
I mean, there's obviously several in the county that
Well,
are
there's
not,
apartment complexes in town
not in.
that the whole thing is more than 600 square foot or
Yeah.
800 square foot, but the actual apartment is not. So what's the
Right.
difference, you know?
Several years ago, when we adjusted the fees, the process we took was we found as many different fee schedules as we could from other counties in the surrounding area. And we looked at those fee schedules and adjusted accordingly. Our final product most resembled Spencer County. So that was the one that was most resembled.
Sure.
As far as the.
And I think the fee structure is fine, I don't see a big
Okay,
problem
so
there,
here's
but.
what Google says. Says zoning ordinances often include minimal requirements like minimum lot sizes or building setbacks and square footage to ensure a certain level of quality and consistency within a neighborhood, preventing overcrowding. So I get into that, so it's us.
I mean, it is something for us, I think, to decide. I think, and we'll have to get with our attorney, but I think we have the ability as the board to
Change that.
redo that.
Yeah, it says it's a way to regulate the lowest acceptable level of development in a given area to protect the overall character and functionality of the community.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going out to these 10, 15, 20 acres, why does it matter they have a 500 square foot home that they're living in, as long as it's in the safe and sanitary part with the
Versus
septic?
putting one into like, and they have their own ordinance out there, or their own guidelines.
Sure,
Yeah, they're paying for the square footage, no matter what.
right. So I
Well,
do think we need to readdress.
I agree with that.
to me, the only concern would be the offset for the roads and things like that
Right.
makes sense. But the size of the structure
Shouldn't
makes no
matter.
sense at all.
It
That's
does
your-
not.
What makes
Yeah.
sense is to make sure that the
Yeah,
septic
there was
system is family sized, adequate. So if somebody then goes in and builds on,
Exactly,
it's
And a
not
lot, and a lot
grandfathered in.
size,
Yes,
the lot size needs to
Yeah.
be regulated.
yeah.
So that you don't
setback
have-
and everything.
3 houses,
right.
tiny houses right on top of each
Right.
other.
Right, and we could even make a minimum structure, you know, a minimum residential structure fee for so many, whatever, but most of these rural areas, not all, but they're usually decent sized lots.
Yeah, you put even an acre,
Right,
that's,
an acre.
that's
But
a
an
lot.
acre, and again, it goes back to what Dan said, they would still have to have the septic system approved, and it's not gonna fit for two you know, it's just not going to. So
Right.
she would have to approve all that before we could approve them anyhow,
Right.
so.
Mhm.
That was the one that we tried to figure out how to get approved for that family. And it was a tiny home and it was a septic that ended up being the,
Yeah, the septic
Yeah.
was the
was the problem.
sticky point,
And it
or
can be.
lack thereof.
Lack of.
Yes, and that's where that's at, we just have to make sure that they're properly.
And I actually, in this day and time, I think you're gonna see a lot more of those.
It's
I really
very
do.
common across the nation, I mean, it
Yeah.
really is, so I don't know why we would put a barrier there. I have one right now that wants to do one, but he's not able to, because it's not a part of our guidelines, so.
Yeah.
Well, let's see, let's,
I
let's have a protest and
I
apply.
can even
I
have
mean,
this
I don't need a big
board and
house.
just give a section,
Yeah.
But then once we make that one section, we're gonna have to make this.
Right, I agree, we need, yeah, we don't wanna keep somebody from building in our
Not
county.
because it hits,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
75
that
square
is,
foot less.
if that causes someone not to want to move here, it's gotta be changed.
I do think so, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if we want to nominate or, you know, vote that in tonight, and then I don't mind to find the footwork with our attorney to see what we need to do on the
As
zoning.
long as they're legal with septic and, what would you say, an acre of ground or half an acre of ground or?
I really
I
don't
don't know, I
know.
think we need
I
to do some
think
research.
an acre
Yeah, I
is
think-
already established.
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah,
Right.
I think I
Yeah.
believe it's an acre in the county for rural residential of the county, residential.
And that's to build a home or to
Yeah.
build a tiny house?
To build a home. So I would say, I think the land,
1 acre.
I think the land.
the land should
needs to
stay the same. But so a lot of things like this square footage minimum, these were put into ordinances decades ago to
Mhm.
try to keep certain types of construction out.
Right.
And but the reasons why people are building smaller homes
Mhm.
have changed over time.
Correct, that's why I said that.
And
Yeah, I think the lot needs, the size of the lot needs to
Yeah,
stay
size
the
of the lot
same.
should stay the
But
same.
I don't know why we care
Square
what the
footage.
square footage septic is the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we should have a minimum septic size just to give add-ons, because I mean, how many people build a tiny home and then decide, this is just.
They wanna add on to that thing.
Exactly, and so,
We do have lot restrictions on here, it does.
Well, it might take a little research and we can find out by the next meeting.
finance, sorry.
Yeah, I think as far as the lot sizes go, we already have those set in place, no need to change those.
The square footage in would be the main thing, correct?
Always, well, I give it to her, she gives them out after
They
she
go in an
reviews.
email, they go forwarded.
If you don't get it, let me know.
All right.
They go forwarded.
I know where he works.
The square footage of the home would be the main thing then, correct?
Correct. We already have in place the size of the land, so
Okay.
all we
So
would
that
have to
needs to
do
stay
is
the
just,
same.
we would just need to address the minimum square footage, and I think, I mean, these tiny homes that are, 500-600 square foot, I manage apartments that are
Yeah.
around 500-600
I know.
square foot, I mean,
Well, I
they're,
think you can bring in an RV and have one, and it could be less footage than that as long as it's got a septic set to it. So I don't know what the difference would be. Be more permanent or to be a tiny.
500 square feet would be fine.
Do we need a minimum square footage instead have, in order to be defined as a home, it needs to have a functioning toilet, shower, a functioning way to wash yourself, functioning toilet, sink, and septic tank that would be appropriate for if they were to add on. Basically, to kind of define a home has these rooms.
they would have to reapproach the sanitation if they were ever to add on, as well as us anyhow, so we could leave that your jargon out of it, I think, just, this is your basics, if they ever go to add on, I have one now, I actually contacted Kim, and they're wanting to add a shower and a toilet and things, and she has to go back out and check and make sure that their sanitation is fine.
There's probably a minimum of those,
Yeah.
septic and stuff that she can do. And
Correct, and if there's already one there, she can't relocate it there, there's a
Yeah.
whole kind, and that's for her, but,
But
um,
I
And
think
the
we
field
need to
beds and
redefine
stuff.
what a home is and refine it by having by having a shower, toilet, and sink, and a separate sink, and, a separate kind of area for food preparation. Separate sinks for.
Let me get you a-
you want one for gray water and one for, potable.
Okay, a dwelling unit, any structure or part of a structure designed to use as living quarters for one family having a minimum gross public floor area of 800 square feet. The zoning administrator may issue a permit for structure use of living quarters for one family having a minimum gross public floor area of 480 plus a porch deck. So it is kind of, she sent me a different one, but this is kind of covering a 480, but it has to have a covered deck. Whatever.
Why wouldn't we care if it had a deck?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we just need to readdress that, and go down to 480 without a deck.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have 480 here, that seems like a logistic.
Yeah,
480 square feet is not very much, right?
No, those little yard barns, I think, are probably.
but I've seen people live in,
There was,
Sure,
somebody was
and I
living
wanted
on
that
one
one.
Troy for a while, I think.
they can build a loft in it for a bedroom and
However you want to do it.
24 by 20 is not 40.
10 by 10 is gonna be 100, so
Yeah.
I'm picturing a bedroom's 13 by 10, 13 by 13, on average, for
that's
not a master. So, yeah, you're looking at,
I mean, I think in order to get, like we talked about, something with utility, showers and such, I don't know.
It has to have septic and it has to have public utilities of some sort.
So.
It has to have electric
Defining
and-
by size, so you should just find that it needs to have a toilet, shower, and a sink, and a separate sink for.
but they could run on solar too. They could put a
That's
solar
true.
up.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, as far as public goes,
Yeah,
we're
that's
talking about
true.
cisterns.
I'm just trying to think
cistern
about,
wells,
yeah.
a lot of different water sources,
But yeah. I think that function would be a better definition of, you have to have separate sinks for food preparation and for your bathroom. And
I think that's more of a health department thing though.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into like health official stuff, and I don't wanna.
No, I'm just saying, probably kind of define home though, or living and dwelling.
Not, we're gonna be moving
Yeah.
into it.
I mean, I don't know, I don't know how the best way is on that, but I do think we need to change that, cause I think
Yeah.
it's silly.
I think
If
the
it's got
groundwork's already in there for the
If it's got
480.
480
Yeah.
in there.
It's got a covered deck on it. Why do we care? As long as the lot size is the same, and somebody owns that piece of property, why do we care as long as it has septic?
A parcel of land occupied where a table will be occupied by more than one structure is a lot, I mean, they just have some definitions, some of their definitions honestly have quite a bit in it for what I think.
That's in the ordinances.
Yeah, this is in our zoning codes. So,
Could we make a motion that it be changed to 480 square feet?
it is 480 square feet.
with
We
a
just changed
We
the
just-
porch.
porch
We
part,
just need to make a motion.
we just need to remove the 800 square foot minimum.
Right.
Yes,
And then remove the porch restrictions.
Well, I make a motion for that then.
can we do that without
I would still have to get with the attorney on
Yeah,
who
I
I would
would-
get to,
yeah.
but,
We can make a motion for
Upon
it, but we'll have to check in
yeah,
to
to
make
make
sure
sure
we're
that, yeah,
legal.
we can
Right.
do it in a,
Pending legal.
yes.
All right, so I make a motion to remove the 800 square feet minimum and to remove the covered deck and porch from the 480 minimum. But leave the lot size standard the way it currently is written,
Pending the attorney's.
pending attorneys, yes. And do I need to add in there the septic part of it
With proper sanitation.
with proper sanitation? Got it.
I second.
You got all that, Mr. Will?
I got that video.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's see, we talked about that, the stipend process.
Yes, they're gonna get that information, by the way. I don't know if everybody caught that. That's in the meeting tomorrow for the commissioner to give us the process with stipends. So, at the end, however we wanna handle that going forward. I have been doing it and I don't mind to, and it's not even, I just don't want
I'm
anybody
I
to
feel
feel like,
like I'm trying to take on a secondary job. I'm not,
No.
so,
Yeah, we have a lot too.
yeah, so I'm just saying, I don't know how, anybody have a suggestion, I guess, on how going forward, do we wanna do like bi-monthly or something where we're rotating timeframes?
I'm good.
I don't,
And you want to
I don't know
take a
what's a
month,
good-
I'll take a
what's a
month,
good-
be happy to.
Good for that.
and not everybody has to do it, you know, you don't, if anybody's willing to, I guess, would be
I
the
will.
thing. And
I'm willing.
I'm willing.
I'm willing to take on the
Nice
task.
if there was a keypad lock on that door.
Well, they do have a keypad on the main, and I could put a, well, it's a toggle, we could put a lockbox, where
Okay.
there's some way to make that more stationary key there.
You mean in the, for the office?
Just for our little office,
Where
yeah.
you can have, Tony Thomas come out and change key code.
Okay, so we can't get a key coded one, that's unfortunate.
You know, all the judicial side has it.
I'm not sure that I can with the way that my position's written, because I can't take a stipend.
Right,
Yeah, I
so I
know.
don't, yes, no, I agree with you on that, and I don't know if Dan will, but we can ask, I'll just send out an email, just ask who all wants to be on that rotation. And then how do you guys wanna do that? It doesn't make
Yeah,
a
I'm
difference.
good beyond the rotation.
Okay,
I just think that because, I don't think that I would be allowed to.
okay,
Yeah,
so
I
what,
don't think you would be either.
just to be clear on what the rotation would look like, during that time period, whether it's so many days or weeks or however, probably be easier just to have a time period, that way you know that one.
And yes, I would just,
Yes,
go through my,
yes, right.
I can remember that.
It would be answering any, emails. And I don't know, that's gonna be a little bit of a stickler one, because I don't know is that a per stipend, because you're just answering email, I don't know. That's what I said, but if you feel differently, we can address yours, because I know some people feel differently about their time. Answering emails, questions, and then it'd be filtering any permits. So if they bring a permit, then you have to come here to fill it out, do all that process. If there's any complaints, then we can go to the board and say, hey, there's a whole complaint system, maybe a couple of us need to go out there and look and see what that is. I would wanna put.
That's usually what we do.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
wanna put a complaint on one
I
person.
checked it out.
Other than that, you know, and if there's a question like, what's that one, if it's out of like the traditional realm of what it is.
Yeah.
I think you need to come to the board, not just approve things, to get yourself in trouble, not that I mind, it's just, I don't want you to have the liability of approving something that's out of the realm.
I think that works well.
Okay.
And all other duties as assigned, right?
Right, just for that time period.
Okay, and then, we did talk about that, so then the next one was the tiny homes, solar fields, cell towers, that stuff's really kind of vague. I don't know how we wanna go about that. Now, what I've done with, like the last one, I considered an accessory structure in the commercial industrial route, so they got charged $100 minimum. I think before they were charged on $50, just I feel like it's more hassle to them to even get it just doesn't make any sense. So I do think that those cell towers should be under the industrial commercial, because that's what they are. And maybe it even is that we make it specific to cell tower solar fields, if they're building those, that's a flat fee of this, because I do think those are becoming more and more popular.
I will look and see what our neighboring counties are doing.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll let you do that then, that way from the next meeting. So then, because I do think we need to add some things like the addressing of the square footage. Those are more and more popular, and I don't wanna undercharge what needs to be charged.
Yep, I'll look.
I would recommend that when we look at like cell towers and solar fields, we should look at the way we handle campgrounds and have them go take these projects as something like, say, could could be on, say, industrial or ag, but they have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals in order to get it approved, because it's a.
Sure, I was,
Yeah, not the zoning part of it, just the fee structure. Yeah.
to what to properly charge them. I wanna make sure that they're not,
Yeah.
because they don't fall underneath housing or residential or any of
Yeah,
those things.
Yeah, I would definitely put them as industrial as well.
Yes, correct, I agree. As far as that goes, I think that's the only discussion I had for new business. I can't think of anything I'm missing, because I know we kind of went through a lot. I do think that we should try to just do a regular meeting. That way we're not having to find
Yeah,
out when
I think
everybody's
so, too.
available. We'll just, this is how many ever,
Just
Thursday, Monday.
cannot be Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I already have set meetings on those days.
And that's fine. And Mondays,
Mondays.
I feel like
There's
that works.
usually not any meetings on Monday evening.
Okay.
So you want, well, this is the third Monday, so what?
Third Monday, do we want to do like every other month though? Because I don't think I do think that, because I do have it in there, and I think field trip next, if everybody wants to go see the office and look at that. Because I do have like, that way everybody can look over what our product, because we'll bring these sheets to the meetings. And what we've actually have
Okay.
done, what we have permitted, you know, that sort of thing, so everybody can see what's happening, now that it's structured that way.
So we could do even numbered months, the third Monday of the month. Right, because we are in an even month, March,
Yes.
or in
Yeah.
February. That'd make April, the third month be the 21st, third Monday be 21st.
You'll want to check with the auditor's office to make sure that
Yes,
nothing
and
is
I will.
scheduled on those months.
June, that'd be June the 16th would be the next one.
Does 5:30 work, or is that too early? I mean, I don't.
It normally works really well, if I remember.
Okay.
I got hung up at work late, didn't think there was any reason for me to excuse myself from that meeting, so.
Okay. We'll just do it that way then. We'll set that up. That way everyone can set their yearly calendar and not have to
Yeah.
think about making sure, because to be honest, it's a kind of an act of Congress to get everybody answered. So-
I remember
so,
those days.
Okay, does anybody else have anything they'd like to discuss or anything of that nature? We are going to field trip just to look at the office, because I know someone wanted to see where was that, so we
Yeah,
know where you're going. But other than that,
All right, I make a motion that we make a field trip to the city office and adjourn the meeting.
Second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.